Hiya folks, and welcome back to Fishing with Den. So, how often have you thought to yourself, I wonder exactly how fast things like ground bait or feeders or a bomb sinks when you're ledgering? So today, I thought the same thing, and I'm going to find out. So I've come down here to this piece of water here. It is actually a river, but there's no flow whatsoever. And where I'm fishing, it's going to be about 19, maybe 20 feet. Now, I've actually got my fish finder app on. Hang on, I'll show you. If you haven't seen this before, it's a deeper fish finder, and it's basically a castable fish finder, which I'll put back in the water because otherwise it'll disconnect on me. Right, just try and keep that connected, and I'll try and actually record this screen on my iPhone whilst I'm doing this, just to show you. Now, I have cast out already, and I know where I'm going to be fishing, but if I just show you, maybe that white board across the way. Don't want to cast too hard because it's on the clip at the moment. Right, so that, it's saying it's working its way up. It is 18.9 feet, 19 feet, so that's perfect. At 19 feet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out how long it takes a bomb to drop, how long it takes a feeder to drop, and then I'm going to work out how to time how long ground bait takes to get to the bottom, but it won't be like this, but I'll show you that shortly. So, as I said, what I'll do now, I'm going to put a 1 ounce bomb on. Right, so why am I putting a 1 ounce bomb on? Well, when you're fishing, especially in a match, and you've never fished the water before, you don't know exactly how deep it is, you don't know if there's any bars or anything else or any other obstructions, and so what you do is you normally put a 1 ounce bomb on. When I say bomb, I just mean one of those. Okay, they come in different shapes and sizes these days. This is the old school version. Right, and what I'm going to do is cast it out to that 23 turns, because that's where I'm clipped up at, and I'm going to count it down. I'll try, when I come to do the editing, to put this with an overlay on the screen so we can get it exact, but for the moment we're going to have to put it with me counting. And the generally accepted theory is it tends to fall at something like 3 feet per second. So if this is 19 feet, you're looking at, call it 6 seconds. So, and of course we'll know when it hits the bottom because the rod tip will just bounce back and go slack. So here we go. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. Oh, there you go. Perfect. So, we'll do that once more just to check. Because that is exactly, well, pretty much exactly 3 feet per second. So, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Well, that's weird. Do it again. It could all be down to my counting, of course. That's why I'll put the counter on. Thousand 1, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Yeah, looks like it's going to be about 6 seconds, but the counter on the screen will be able to tell us. So the next question is, okay, so what if you want to put a heavier bomb on? Say a 2 ounce bomb. And we'll try that now with both a 2 ounce and also a 3 ounce, just to see. Here's a 2 ounce bomb. Of course, me counting is very subjective, so it's probably going to be wrong, but anyway, it looks like the premise is pretty much correct. Thousand 1, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. Yeah, so that falls at exactly the same speed, which is reassuring. Okay, one more test with the 3-ounce bomb. Here we go then. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, yep. So it looks like it doesn't matter what you put on by way of weight, it goes down at the same speed. So next, what we'll do is we'll put a feeder on and we'll see how long that takes to go down through 19 feet. Now I usually work on about 3/4 of a second per foot, so because I'm old, that might take me a little bit of messing around to calculate, but if necessary I'll put it up on the screens for you. This is one of my new river feeders which I'm testing because I'll be fishing that festival very shortly. I'll put a 20-gram weight in the back, and overall then that will weigh, bear with me, right, 0.030, so that's 30 grams that it weighs like that. I'll put some ground bait in and we'll cast it and see what happens. Again to the line clip in exactly the same place, which is going to be that 19 feet. Hope I haven't twisted it around the top. No, we're good. Okay. So I'm not going to feather this down particularly, I'm just going to cast it to the clip. Thousand 1, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015, 1016. So 16 seconds to get to the bottom in a 19 or 20 feet deep swim. So at that, it's not really that much different to the ground bait, I don't think. So anyway, let's just strike this off a sec and we'll go again. And normally I'd be fishing these with a heavier weight in, but we'll try that in a second. I'm just going to try the ground bait in this 30-gram version again, just to see. Again, I'll put the thing up on the screen if I can work out how to do it when I'm editing. Thousand 1, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015, 1016, just over 1016, so 16 seconds. Right, we'll go 10 grams heavier. I'll strike this off again. I'm going to do a bit of fishing shortly, so testing a few things out. But I thought I'd come down here to a still water because it's just easier to do all these things. Okay, put the 30-gram weight in and we'll do the same again. And what did I say? About 16 seconds to get to the bottom with this previously. So this will now be a 40-gram feeder. Thousand 1, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015. Well, that looks like it could have been a second less. Again, we'll put the clock on the screen and we'll see what the actual time was. We'll try it with the next one up, which will make this a 50-gram feeder. So as I say, we've now got a 40-gram weight in, we've got a 50-gram feeder, and we'll do the same thing. Thousand 1, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014. Now, that actually seems to have taken less. So that was the plastic feeders. This is a metal cage feeder. It's 3 ounces, so we're going to put that on and see if the metal goes down any quicker. Okay, so 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. Well, interesting. We'll do that one more time just to be on the safe side. This, by the way, I just weighed it when it was full and it weighs 180 grams. And I'm managing to cast it somehow with my free spirit rod. Wouldn't want to cast it any further than this sort of 25 meters or so, but just goes to show. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, well, something like 9 or 10. We'll get all the results put together in a second or two from what you've seen on the screen, and then we'll do a little piece to camera from within the office once I've sorted out exactly, excuse me, where we're at. But now I'm going to do a test with how fast ground bait sinks, and to do that I'm going to need my pole. So back in a sec. Okay, so that's the feeder and the bomb side sorted out. As I said before, we'll know the results shortly, but next I'm going to have to do the how fast does ground bait sink side of things, and to do that I've got my fish finder and I've tied it to a piece of line on my pole cup. I'm going to put it out there and we're going to get the depth of 13 meters and we'll use that as a reference point. Right, so there's 13 meters of pole, and if I tip that out now you can see where I've got the tether. Put this on here for a minute, and all being well, we should be getting a result on here in a second. Okay, so that, according to this, it's saying 6.9 feet at the moment. It's caught up. It's looking for the GPS and found it. So I've got more or less 12 feet there, 11 and a half, 12 feet, something like that. So we'll work on 12 feet as the guide. What I'm going to do now, I've set up this rig here. I'll put it on the top of my pole section. I'm just going to loop it over like that. Push it up the pole section. If I unwind this now, all I've done is put a hair stop on the end. There's no hook, nothing like that. Just a hair stop on the end, and I'm going to be putting some bait on there, and then I'm going to mould the ground bait around that. Yep, mad scientist time, I suppose. Right. I've plumbed the depth out there just to save some time, and I've got this set up so that the float, when it's directly under the rod tip or the pole tip, is, when this hits the bottom, it's going to just go under. So I'm going to take all this off here, I'm going to put some bait on, then I'm going to mould some ground bait around the bait. And then we're going to put it out in the pole pot and we're going to tip it in and we'll work it out from there. So hopefully this will all work. Right, so this is just 2 chickpeas on the hair, not on a hook obviously. So I'll get some ground bait. Not quite sure how I'm going to get this sorted out, but put it on sort of like that, I suppose. Just make a ball. Not going to squeeze it particularly tight or anything. Just make sure that's not going to tear through. Okay, so now the hard bit. Get it out there without getting it wet. hopefully when I get it out there, you should be able to see what's happening on the zoom camera down there. So, in the pot, hopefully we won't catch anything down here. He said having caught on something down there. There we are. And count it down. So, and it goes 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Well, that went under at 1008. So that looks like it takes what, 2/3 of a second to do a foot. We'll do that again, just to be on the safe side. Just strike that off. There we go. It's all a bit awkward this, isn't it, guys? Right. We didn't catch anything this time on the way out. And there we are. Okay. So there's the 13-metre mark, and in we go. 1, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009. Right, 9 that time. So yeah, same again, sort of 2/3, 3/4, that sort of thing. We'll give it one more go, just to see. I'll strike that off, and then I'm going to call a halt to the testing, because I've achieved what I need to do. And then, whew, it's hard work this. And then I'm going to go and do a bit of fishing. There we go, and 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, there you go. So 9 until the float sank. And that is exactly what I said before. It's about 3/4 of a second per foot. Now I always thought it was actually a bit faster than that, or a bit slower than that rather, but hey. At least I've done the tests, and I'll have to pack some of this away and be back in a second with the results, and we'll make some deductions. But in the meantime, I'm going fishing. Okay then, well, I've been through and watched the video myself again, and I've got myself some notes here based on what I've seen. And the first thing you've got to say is that counting down in your head, totally inaccurate, unless you've maybe got 6 seconds. But even then, I still got it wrong. So it's probably a good idea to invest in a stopwatch. Obviously, if you're only fishing in 3 or 4 feet of water, this is not necessarily relevant. But if you're going to be at the start of a match and you're fishing in water you don't know, and you're casting around, yeah, you could do the counting out in your head, you know, the 1001, 1002. Give you a rough idea of the contours of your swim. And then if you clip up where you think you're going to fish and use the stopwatch, you'll probably get a far more accurate reading on the whole thing. So, possibly buy a stopwatch, and I think this probably cost me about 6 or 7 quid, pounds to those who aren't English. What else have we got? Right. We also talked about casting out a sinker or a bomb, RC bomb, whatever you want to call it. And pretty much as expected, the 1 ounce, 2 ounce and 3 ounce bombs all sank at pretty much the same speed, which as it turns out was quite good, because it was 3 feet per second. Now, having said that, when you cast out the plastic feeders, as you know, I put the 20 gram, 30 gram and 40 gram weights in to make 30, 40 and 50 gram feeders with the plastic. And they were quite big feeders, but they were going in, and there was a slight difference with the heavier weights, but it wasn't all that great. But the amount of lead that you do have in a feeder does make some sort of difference. Now, having said that, if you work on, for normal purposes, 30 to 40 gram feeders are probably what most of us use most of the time. If you worked on something like 3/4 of a second or so per foot,
you'd be pretty accurate, or as accurate as you're likely to ever be anyway. The heavy metal feeder, now that was a 3-ounce feeder made of metal, so there was no plastic to hold anything up or anything like that. And as you saw, that was only taking 10 seconds. So that goes down at a hell of a rate. What it means is, of course, you can't use the same equation for all feeders because they're all different. So that doesn't help too much either, does it? But as I say, going back to what I said a minute ago, 3/4 of a second per foot for your standardish plasticky feeders. Groundbait, a bit of a jury-rigged sort of a job, but hey, it got the job done. And again, that falls at around about 3/4 of a second per foot. And of course, that's based on the mix I was using on the day, so it could well be that there are variables based on different mixes or how much water's in the mix and so on. But again, around about 3/4 of a second per foot. Of course, what that means is if you're fishing in a deep water like I was there, and if you catapult some balls of groundbait out, if you've got 18, 19 feet of water and there's a wind and therefore a tow on the water, where you put it in front of you, it could end up 2 or 3 meters that way or 2 or 3 meters that way by the time it hits the bottom, depending on the way the undertow is going. So if you're putting your float in or your feeder in right in front of you as well, your bait might be over here or over here. So it's just something to be aware of. Of course, in a river, there's a complicating factor of the flow. So by using the sort of things we've come up with today by way of timings, you should now be able to say to yourself, if you've got, say, a 10-foot deep river, and you put the balls in at that point there, and let's say you watch a stick go down and count 10 seconds for 10 feet, that's around about where your groundbait's going to wind up. And so therefore you can work out where you're going to put your feeder. Anyway, look, that's what it all comes down to. There is no hard and fast, absolutely accurate rule, but we can fine it down a little by, well, certainly by putting the timer on the screen, or in fact, in practice, using the stopwatch. But hey, that's it. I hope it enlightened you to some extent. If you fish 3 feet deep commercials, ignore this video altogether, but thank you for watching anyway. But if you got something out of it, well, I hope you'll benefit from the results. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it, as I say. If you did, as always, click the like button. If you want to subscribe, feel free. And until the next time, bye for now.